Hello again.
Howdy ho! It is August 25th, and today's topic is respect the past, but be open to the future. It begins with a quote by Seneca. Won't you be walking in your predecessors' footsteps? I surely will use the older path. But if I find a shorter and smoother way, I'll blaze a trail there. The ones who pioneered these paths aren't our masters, but our guides. Truth stands open to everyone. It hasn't been monopolized.
I like that.
That's so sweet. I love the permission there of don't feel like you have to do it the same way it's always been done.
Right, like the people who have done it and are successful or were successful were just showing you that that's how they did it and you can follow their footsteps, but your path is going to be different than theirs, right? And then this is kind of giving you this freedom of it's okay, go explore in there. Not all those paths exist and you can follow them, but you can cross connect this path with that path and that path with that path, and you can make it your own little path forward throughout all of these suggested paths that have already been carved up, and we have examples of them, and they exist, right? So but it's so it doesn't feel like, I have to follow this person's footsteps and I don't have my identity or something. Like we find our identity by cross connecting those ideas and those paths, and hopefully also move further enough that we also experience success.
I'm really connecting this to kind of this idea in yoga. I don't know if you had the same experience, but with yoga, there's this sort of idea of devotion and surrendering to the path that somebody else has sort of set in place for you. And I've struggled a lot with that because it's felt almost like, well, if I stray from this, what does that mean? Does that mean that I'm not practicing yoga anymore?
It was not communicated correctly, because if they meant, hey, we are here to guide you, there's this path forward, we're gonna follow this path forward, but you are also an individual, so your path will be different. You'll go different this way, but this path moves you forward in some sort of organized way, right? So you can use this to move your life forward, right? So if it was explained this way, people might be like, oh, so it's not this one path I have to follow. No, this is like the highway, but then there are branches. I can go off of this and then come back to it, and then go off and down this side and come back to it, and so it's like, yes, could I just be following them blindly forward? Yeah, I could do that as well. Like it's all of these options are there, but the way that it's talked about is like, we have this system called yoga, and there's this path forward of if you follow that, as we're gonna call you devotee, right? And now you devoted yourself into this path, and AKA which path? Well, then this path, this one only, this one, this specific one that we carved, do not deviate from it. Well, now where's freedom in this? You know what I mean? Now there's a problem with that. This is why religions are not based on freedoms. They're more based on these rules and these regulations and these paths, these very specific paths forward. That's how specific is that Christianity has hundreds of different religions within it. That's how specific those paths forward are, right? So it's there's not a lot of freedom there, right? So Yeah. Other teachings, let's say maybe not call it religion or something, but other teachings may have those freedoms built into them, and therefore they are people maybe connect with them or something better, or more. It feels better to be connected with that versus with some sort of a path that was set for you by someone previously.
Yeah.
Someone not even here today. Yeah. And when I say here, not in this here. Yeah. Okay.
You ready for Ryan?
Yeah, let's do it.
Traditions are often time-tested best practices for doing something. But remember that today's conservative ideas were once controversial, cutting-edge, and innovative. This is why we can't be afraid to experiment with new ideas. In Seneca's case, he might be embracing some new philosophical insight that improves on the writing of Zeno or Cleanthes. In our case, perhaps a breakthrough in psychology improves on the writing of Seneca or Marcus Aurelius. Or perhaps we have a breakthrough of our own. If these ideas are true and better, embrace them, use them. You don't need to be a prisoner of dead old men who stopped learning 2,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Well, nice.
And that's why this is not really considered a religion, right? It's considered more philosophy or a teaching or something, because it's like, yeah, there are these paths forward. You should live by them because it's just to your benefit. But how do you move around there? I don't give a shit. It's you, buddy. It's your life. This is the freedom that we were given to go move that way. Now, it tells me, like, then people might say, well, the other extreme is like, well, we're not gonna, well, in that case, we're just gonna sit here and we're not gonna do anything. Well, you can choose that, sure. But then you're not experiencing all of those different paths forward. You're not experiencing all this forward movement that could potentially, you're not experiencing the potential that it is there, right? So it's like, okay, well, you can choose to do that, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about we have the want to move forward. It is moving forward. Let's link those together and now go experience this movement forward with the path that we choose, with the guidance of these types of, I'm not saying just Stoics, but those types of teachings, with the guidance of those teachings. Be free and experience life with back on the back of the mind is this, you know?
Yeah. And something else I'm pulling from this is, like, he's also saying, like, improving upon these teachings. Like, don't just...
Yeah.
He's also saying, like, the teachings themselves are not finished. And sometimes I can fall into that trap where I'm like, well, it's all already been said the best way before. And in a lot of cases, there's really great ways of saying it and seeing it and thinking about it. But also, there's still improvements to be made in any field. Like, you know, I remember being a kid and being like, what's it going to be like to be an adult? We figured everything out already. Like, we know the solar system, we know the universe, we know that we came from a big bang. Like, what don't we know? And now as an adult, it's like very clear to me, like, oh no, like, we're still moving this whole thing forward. So even some of the things when I was a kid that I thought I knew, like the Big Bang, are just big assumptions, you know? But there is stuff to be improved upon in all of these areas. We can always go deeper in the rabbit hole.
Yeah, and that's also, like, this podcast is also for me is like, it's to just kind of play with this, like read it or hear what you're reading, right? And then, like, let my mind be free and explorative in what the heck does this mean? Oh, that could mean like this. Oh, maybe it's similar to this. And as I'm doing that, it's not, I'm not preaching to anybody, to you, to them, to even myself. I'm just expressing myself of like how it's connected there. Not for somebody to say, wow, it's so interesting how it's connected in there like that. Like, no, I don't give a shit. No, I want to understand it from another new angle. And unless I'm going through the letting myself kind of hear it and then just kind of my brain compares it to things and says, well, that's like this, or maybe that's, oh wow, is there something new in there? Whoa, that's kind of cool. And I want to kind of go through that, because that's when I could discover how this could be improved upon. And I don't want to improve it, but that's where I can experience the aha moment of like, oh wow, this can also be connected to this, like that. And I haven't never thought of it, or I never heard about it like that from anywhere else. And that makes me like happy and excited, because like it makes me feel connected to that whole thing somehow. And so, in some way, like I know that you say like, oh, well, when you communicate, we should all communicate things that are thought through, and they are, they will make sense when they're explained. Like it's almost like I have to think about this stuff ahead of time, and that's rightly so. Maybe in some cases that is how the communication should work, but in some other cases, I want to let myself to run wild and run free, just to see what happens in there, what comes out, something new that I'm actually not expecting. I'm expecting the unexpected. That's what I want. I want the, hey, I'm just gonna kind of let that in there and just gonna put stuff in there, and then I'm gonna taste it and be like, oh wow, yeah, that tastes like any other time I've ever made it. But I am also in there, there's this hope and this kind of excitement, like, what if I'm gonna change it? I'm gonna change it, and then by me changing it, it's gonna taste a little different. And what if that new thing is the, wow, that's what I was looking for. That's what I was missing. Like, that's what I'm looking for in there, right? And so I'm letting myself kind of spitball, kind of whatever, right? And what I might be saying is to others, it might sound like, well, that's not how it is, or, well, that's kind of weird, or that's a strange opinion, or like, I don't know if that's how it is, because I think like it's like that, right? Like, yeah, it could be like that, it could be like that. I'm just messing with it. So, like, it's almost it's like artistic, right? Like, it's like I'm making art. Like, that's how it feels like. I'm just letting myself hit the wrong strings and see like maybe something will spark from that, and I'm okay with that it's wrong in some book. I don't care. That's okay. Wrong. Okay, no problem. But maybe something will come of it. And I want to have moments in my life where I'm letting myself to be like that. So, and I find this podcast to be, I want this podcast to be part of that. So thank you for letting me.
Yeah, I mean, people have different communication styles.
At different times. Yeah, and with different groups and different people and different occasions. Yeah, all of that stuff. Yeah, and they're all important. None of them are better or worse. They're just important at that time, right? And I feel like this is the time for us to just read this, spitball about it, see what happens, see what comes up. Nothing comes up, see you next time. We'll go,
That's cool. I'm cool with your spitballing, except for when I can't follow it. That's the only time that it's like weird for me, because I'm just sitting here and I'm like, I don't really know what you're driving at with it. Like I don't know what it represents inside of you.
Yeah, because you think it needs to represent something already. But I'm letting myself to say things that are showing up and be open for that meaning to come later, after I say it. Something else will show up. I'm not going to be ignorant to say, everything I said is true and everyone should listen to what I just said. No one should listen to it. No, I'm just saying it so I can picture it from these other angles. And everything that's coming out, it's not worthless garbage. No, it's related to that, and it is going someplace. But But where it's going, that I do not know yet, right? And so it's kind of like I have to let myself do it in order for me to see some sort of a result of what I just vomited out or something, you know? It's a different way of working, you know?
I mean, yeah, so people think through talking, you know?
Yeah.
And then, like, there's...
Yeah,
like,
and I might say many wrong things, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one meeting that I had where my boss was like, she was like, all right, here's the ground rules. You have to know what you're going to say before you say it. No going around in circles, no word vomiting, no, like, none of this. Like, you need to know what your point is before you start talking.
That's a excellent way of making sure that no one says anything. And no conversation.
It wasn't a very fun meeting.
Yeah, there you go. To my point. I would literally flip that upside the head. Say anything, interrupt anyone, don't be rude. Don't be an ass. But do interrupt and say whatever comes up, man. Because maybe what's coming up doesn't have to be thought through. It's just like I'm not saying every meeting should be a brainstorming session, but there should be parts of where we are letting ourselves to just kind of throw it on the wall. There's no wrong thing. Let just, you know, there are wrong things, of course, but let's just hear it anyway.
It's not wrong to say the wrong thing.
It's not wrong to say the wrong thing. It's okay to say the wrong thing, because when we say it, we hear it. Finally, we actually hear it this way, not in our minds. We hear it like, oh, it's vocalized into my ears. It's coming back to totally different systems, right? And now it's like, oh, no, that doesn't make any sense. I catch myself on this shit all the time, right? So it's like it's not that everything that comes out of this mouth is already correct. No, something comes out here, I will hear it, and I will it'll go through that filter again, and then I will say, oh my God, no, this is terrible. Or, you know what, that's a great idea, right? It has to be heard first. It can't, you know, and a lot of times when we are saying this stuff, we are hearing it, but also others are hearing it, and they have fucking problem with this because maybe it doesn't make sense, and they go, that doesn't make any sense, and you're like, yeah, it doesn't. I just was saying it so I can hear it, so I can also figure out that it doesn't make any sense. Thank you for pointing it out. But the way people pointing it out is with this,
because they don't know that this is an idea that is presently being worked through. They think that this is an idea that has already been worked through, and now it's being presented to the world.
How silly that would be of someone to think that any idea is already worked through to the point that it's worked out, right? AKA what we just talked about, right? Like nothing is actually worked out. So any idea is being actually
I'm not saying worked out to completion. I'm just saying that, like, this is something I've thought deeply about.
I understand that people don't think that whatever is being expressed is being worked out right now.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, it always is being worked out right now.
Well, of course, yeah.
Because if somebody's saying this is how it is, they're wrong. That's not how it is.
Which is true at any point. It's just that, like, how much have I worked on this previously before saying it out loud?
Yeah. And I vote for, let's work it out right now in front of everyone. And if I look like an idiot, hey, that's on me, you know. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it.
I don't have a problem with that either. Clearly. Bye, y'all.
All right. Thanks for joining. See you tomorrow.